Otherwise, we may have to do 2 sessions, like on the day before Gaur Purnima or something, which I think is not a bad idea because devotees are coming, so then we can have 2 sessions, but we'll see. I've practiced, actually timed myself. So let's see. Okay. Which chapter are we on? Gurudev Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vancha kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhye gacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah namo mahabhadanyaya krishna prema pradayate krishnaya krishna chaitanya namani gaura trise namah He Krishna karuna sindho dina bandho jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vrindai Tulsi Debai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. My Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of my most worshipable, beloved Diksha and Siksha Gurudevs. Nityalila Pravishto Vishnu Pad Paramahansas Tatara Sata Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Nityalila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansas Tatara Sata Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj and Nityalila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansas Tatara Sata Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And my Dandavat pranams to all my Sri Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga, especially Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Shila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who has written this Sri Navadvipta Mahatma. My Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavas. Now, Srila Jiva Goswami was giving an instruction, Nityananda Prabhu. Sri Nityananda Prabhu was giving an instruction to Jiva Goswami that he should go to meet with Sri Madhusudan Vachaspati. Now he's telling what is Srila Madhusudan Vachaspati's identity. So he's telling, Bahye teho sampradai vaidantika hoy, sankari sannyasi tar nikate parai, krame krame sannyasi ganer kripa kori, gorangera vyakya sikshadeya sutradhari. Externally, Madhusudan Vachaspati is a traditional Vedantist who teaches sannyasis of the Shankar Sampradaya. However, at the appropriate time, when they have developed faith, he gives mercy to them by conveying the meaning of the sutras in accordance with Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu's explanations. Now, Nityananda Prabhu is saying, now there is no need to write a separate commentary on the Vedanta Sutra because all the sutras are truly explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. But when there will be a need for a commentary, Sri Govinda Bhashya will manifest itself. You know what that is? Govinda Bhashya, we're going to hear. Now, because Gopinath Acharya is related to Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya, he also heard the commentary from Sri Mahaprabhu's mouth. When did he hear it? When Mahaprabhu explained it to Sarvabhauma. Yes, but now you're going to hear something interesting. At the appropriate time, by the desire of the Lord, he, Gopinath Acharya, will take birth as Baladev Vidyabhushan, and he will conquer Jaipur. He will go there, he will reveal the commentary named Sri Govinda Bhashya, and he will liberate the jivas by manifesting service to Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. So now whenever you hear the name of Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Vedanta Acharya, Gaudiya Vedanta Acharya, then you know that his original identity is actually Gopinath Acharya. And Gopinath Acharya is the one that was trying to convince Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not just an ordinary human sannyasi, but he's the Supreme Lord. So, yes. Now, the two brothers, Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatan, they will tell you all these confidential topics in detail. Now, hearing the words of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Jiva Goswami, he started weeping and he rolled on the ground. He then fell unconscious. Sri Nityananda Prabhu bestowed his mercy on Sri Jiva Goswami by putting his two lotus feet on his head, thus infusing him with spiritual strength. Then Jiva Goswami began to dance in the assembly of the Vaishnavas, chanting, all glories to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Nityananda Rai. And then, seeing Sri Nityananda Prabhu's mercy upon Jiva Goswami, Srivas and all the great devotees present there began to dance and chant the names of Sri Gauranga Nityananda, making the place auspicious with their loud chanting. After some time, Sri Nityananda Prabhu stopped dancing, took Jiva with him, and sat down. It was arranged for Sri Jiva Goswami to stay in Srivas Angan, and after staying in Srivas Angan for some time, then Sri Jiva Goswami again came to see Sri Nityananda Prabhu in the evening. Sri Nityananda Prabhu was sitting in solitude, singing the glories of Sri Gaur Hari. Sri Jiva offered his obeisances at the Lord's feet. Now Sri Jiva's inquiry concerning the tattva about Sri Navadvip Dham. With care, Sri Nityananda Prabhu seated Jiva next to him. Sri Jiva Goswami folded his hands and he humbly said, O Lord, please be merciful and describe in detail the true nature of Sri Navadvip Dham. Then Sri Nityananda Prabhu said, "Oh Jiva, I will certainly tell you about this highly confidential topic, but you must keep it in your heart. For now, do not reveal this tattva here and there. At the close of the Lord's manifest pastimes, it will reveal itself naturally." Now, Sri Nityananda Prabhu's description of Navadvip Dham's real nature. E Navadvipa hoy sarva dham sar, Shri Viraja Brahma Dham adi hoy par, Vaikuntera para Shveta Dvipa Shri Goloka, Tadante Gokula Brindavana Krishna Loka. This Navadvip is the essence of all holy abodes. After crossing the river, Shri Viraja, Brahma Dham, and so on, one comes to Vaikuntha. Beyond Vaikuntha is Shveta Dvip, Shri Goloka. And above Shri Goloka is Krishna Loka, Gokul and Vrindavan. This abode, Shri Krishna Loka, manifests in two transcendental moods, bhavs, that nourish rasa. The first mood is madhurya, sweetness, and the second is audarya, munificence. Madhurye audarya purana rupe avastita, audarye madhurya purana rupe te vihita. Although audarya exists in full within madhurya, and madhurya exists in full within audarya, but that section of Sri Krishna Loka in which madhurya predominates is known by fortunate persons as Vrindavan. And the section of Sri Krishna Loka in which audarya predominates is called Sri Navadvip Dham in all the Vedas, Sarva Vedekai. There is no difference between Vrindavan and Navadvip. They are distinguished only by rasa. This dham is eternally perfect, transcendental, and unlimited. A person with material intelligence cannot fathom the extent of it. Influenced by Ladini Shakti, the living entities give up their material occupational duties, and they attain their real dharma on the strength of eternally perfected knowledge. Nitya Siddha Gyan Bali Pai Tara Dharma. Now, Sarva Navadvip Ahoy Chinmaya Prakash. Navadvip in its entirety is a transcendental manifestation. Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu performs his pastimes in this very dham. With material eyes, people perceive this place to be like any other. This is because the illusory energy covers their eyes and hides the real eternal abode of the Lord. In Sri Navadvip, there is no mundane place or time that is influenced by Maya, and the jivas here are not entangled in material illusion. However, being bound by his fruitive activities, the jiva becomes controlled by illusion, Maya, and sees Sri Navadvip Dham as a material place. But when by good fortune, through the association of saintly persons, prema appears in a jiva, he will see Sri Navadvip Dham as the manifest transcendental Vaikuntha Loka. And then he will always see with his own eyes all the transcendental components of the Dham, such as the land and time. Eto katana ami navadvip tattva, vicharya deka jiv hoy shuddha sattva. I have described the real truth of Navadvip Dham in your presence, O Jiva, being situated in pure goodness, Shuddha Sattva. Please deliberate upon this tattva. Nitai Janava Pade Nitya Jara Ash, Guda Tattva Kare Bhakti Vinod Prakash. Bhakti Vinod, desiring to attain the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Janava Devi, is revealing this confidential truth. End of chapter 4. Chapter 5. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Sachira Nandan, Jaya Jaya Nityananda Janava Jivan, Jaya Jaya Navadvip Sarvadham Sar, Jata Kali Juge Hoilo Gaur Avatar. All glories to Sri Navadvip Dham, the essence of all other holy abodes. Shri Gaur Hari descended here in Kali Yuga. Now Sri Nityananda Prabhu told Srila Jiva Goswami, this Sri Navadvip Dham, which extends over 16 kosas, approximately 32 miles, is certainly non-different from Sri Vrindavan. In this 16 kosas, there are 9 dvipas, or islands. Just like an 8-petaled lotus flower floats on the water, this Navadvip is also like a lotus flower with 8 petals, which are the 8 islands. Antardvip is in the middle, and like a dot at the very center of this Antardvip lies Mayapur. Now is the description of Sridham Mayapur. Mayapur Yogapit Sada Golakar Tata Nitya Chaitanyara Vividha Vihar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eternally performs various kinds of pastimes in the spherical form of Mayapur Yogapit. The diameter of Mayapur Yogapit is 1,000 dhanusha, means 2,000 meters. And the circumference is 3,000 dhanusha, 6,000 meters. Even though there are several places situated within Sri Dham Navadvip, this Yogapit is the most glorious of them all, because the Panchatattva, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Advaita Acharya, Sri Gadadhar, and Srivas are splendidly situated there, Yogapit. Very soon, by the desire of Mahaprabhu, this place will by itself become hidden by the water of the Bhagirathi. When sometime later Mahaprabhu's desire to manifest the Dham again becomes strong, then this radiant Dham, it will be revealed. The eternal Dham can never be lost by time. Rather, sometimes it remains in a hidden form, and sometimes it is manifest. My Lord is eternally residing in Mayapur, which is situated on the eastern bank of Bhagirathi Ganga. Although from a mundane point of view, Vishwambar Mahaprabhu takes sannyas, and he leaves Navadvip to wander through many different places. Nevertheless, my Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu never leaves the village of Mayapur in Navadvip Dham to go elsewhere. Did you hear that? Yeah. Like in Braj, Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. The devotees still behold Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's his daily pastimes, Ashtakaliya Leela. O Jiva, in time to come, you will also behold Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu's dancing. Surrounding Mayapur in all directions is the radiant Antardvip, where Brahma obtain Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu's darshan. O Jiva, if you want to see all these places, then perform parikrama. In that way, all your desires, in other words, the desire to behold all the pastime places of Sri Navadvip Dham will be fulfilled. And when Jiva Goswami heard these words from Nityananda Prabhu, then his eyes filled with tears, and he offered his prostrated obeisances at the Lord's lotus feet, and he said, O Lord, please bestow mercy upon this insignificant soul, and personally take me on parikrama. Hearing Sri Jiva's prayers, Sri Nityananda Prabhu answered, Tatastu, so be it. And he revealed his mind. Sri Nityananda Prabhu said, O Jiva, today you will take darshan of Mayapur, and tomorrow I will take you to many other places. And saying this, Sri Nityananda Prabhu stood up, and the joyful Sri Jiva Goswami followed him. Sri Nityananda Prabhu, overwhelmed in devotional ecstasy, walked slowly. His divine body was intoxicated with praying for Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. The Lord's enchanting form was swaying with transcendental emotions, and the ornaments that adorned his entire body were coruscating radiantly. Even in their meditation, Brahma, Shiva, and others, they cannot obtain those lotus feet, which are now walking ahead of Sri Jiva Goswami, bestowing mercy upon him. Sri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Following behind Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Jiva smeared the dust from the Lord's lotus feet all over his body, and he walked on in delight. They entered Sri Jagannath Mishra's house, and Sri Nityananda Prabhu made a submission at Sri Sachi Mata's lotus feet. O Mother, supremely intelligent Jiva, who is a dear servant of Sri Gauranga, is very fortunate. Then upon hearing these words of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Jiva fainted, falling to the ground like a tree, uprooted by a great storm. Sri Jiva fell at Sachi Mata's feet and rolled on the ground. Various ecstatic symptoms manifested in his body in competition with each other. Can you imagine rolling on the ground in front of Sachi Mata's lotus feet, huh? Mother Sachi mercifully blessed Sri Jiva. That day, they all took prasad in that very house. Sri Vishnu Priya Devi prepared rice, vegetables, and many other kinds of dishes on the order of Mother Sachi. After some time, Sri Vamshi Vadanananda Prabhu offered the preparations with great attention to Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Ishan Thakur arranged a sitting place, and with an extremely joyful heart served prasad to Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Filled with motherly affection, Sri Sachi Devi told Sri Nityananda Prabhu, "Finally, my son, you are at your mother's house. Now eat with great joy. I have secretly offered this prasad to Gaurachandra, so if you also affectionately accept it, I will become most happy at heart." And hearing the words of Mother Sachi, Sri Nityananda Prabhu blissfully accepted the prasad, and Sri Jiva Goswami received his remnants. Sri Jiva said, "I am blessed having taken prasad today at Mahaprabhu's house in Mayapur." And after eating, Sri Nityananda Prabhu paid his obeisances at Mother Sachi's feet and begged her permission to leave. As Sri Nityananda Prabhu was leaving, he took Vamshi Vadanananda with him. Sri Jiva offered obeisances at the feet of Sri Vamshi Vadanananda Prabhu. And Sri Nityananda Prabhu said, Jiva, all devotees know this Vamshi Vadanananda to be an incarnation of Sri Krishna's dear flute. By his mercy, the jivas become attracted to Sri Krishna, and they become eager to enter Maharas. Look, Jiva, in this house, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed many pastimes with all of us. Oh, look here, this is Jagannath Mishra's temple. Daily, in a steadfast manner, he would sit here to worship Lord Vishnu. Just see this house where he used to serve guests. Also, take darshan of this platform where he worshipped Tulsi. As long as Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, the maintainer of the devotees, remained at home, he used to follow the behavior shown by his father. Now, Ishan Thakur performs all these duties under the guidance of Sri Vamshi Vadanananda Prabhu. At this place, there was a great neem tree which disappeared by Mahaprabhu's touch. When Sri Nityananda Prabhu described these places, he was crying. In the same way, Sri Jiva and Sri Vamshi Vadanananda were also crying. Now we come to Srivas Angan. Meanwhile, Srivas Pandit arrived there, and together the four of them left Jagannath Mishra's house and walked toward Srivas Angan. Srivas Angan is situated 100 dhanu, that's 200 meters north of the Yog Peeth. Sri Nityananda Prabhu blissfully showed Srivas Angan to Sri Jiva. Sri Jiva began to roll in the dust of Srivas Angan, and the remembrance of Mahaprabhu's many pastimes came all at once. Jiva became so moved by prema that the symptoms of prema in his body appeared to compete with each other. Now, then, just as Sri Jiva was getting up from the ground, he saw an astonishing sight. Sriman Mahaprabhu was dancing with his intimate devotees. Ballabhanandana, that's the name of Jiva Goswami, the son of Sri Ballabha. Ballabha Nandana beheld that Maha Sankirtan and the extraordinary dancing of Sriman Mahaprabhu, who was radiantly situated in the midst of all the devotees. Sri Advaita Charya and Nityananda Prabhu were dancing. Sri Gadadhar Pandit and Sri Haridas Thakur were dancing and also singing. Sri Shuklambar and hundreds of other devotees were dancing. Seeing all this, Sri Jiva was overwhelmed by prema and he fell unconscious. When the vision of the pastimes disappeared, Sri Jiva returned to consciousness. Now, nothing was pleasing to him. He continuously wept and said, "Alas, alas, why did I not take birth earlier? Alas, alas, it is not my fortune to obtain the bliss of Sriman Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan in the group of his intimate devotees. Oh, Sri Nityananda Prabhu's mercy is boundless and unlimited. Today, through the strength of his mercy, I became fortunate to have a momentary darshan of this pastime. My desire is that I may reside in this Mayapur forever, because if so, my entanglement in the illusory energy Maya will be removed completely. Even the thought of leaving Mayapur is making my heart palpitate. Nevertheless, the Master's order is more powerful than the servant's desire." Now they go to Sri Advaita Bhavan. Sri Nityananda Prabhu then took Sri Jiva. Are you following in your mind? Those of you have exactly how you're walking. Sri Nityananda Prabhu then took Sri Jiva to Sri Advaita Charya's house, Advaita Bhavan, which is situated 20 meters north of Sri Vasangan. Sri Nityananda Prabhu said, Jiva, see the residence of Sitanath, Sri Advaita. Here the Vaishnavas are always meeting. Sitanath used to sit here and worship Lord Sri Krishna. And by loudly calling out to him, Sitanath brought my only treasure, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, to this earth. And after rolling in the dust of that place, the four of them went to Sri Gadadhar Bhavan, the house of Gadadhar Pandit, which was 10 meters east of Advaita Bhavan. From there, Sri Nityananda Prabhu showed Sri Jiva the residences of all Mahaprabhu's other associates. And after visiting the houses of the Brahmanas, those four personalities blissfully proceeded towards the bank of the Ganga. Now we come to Kshetrapal Vridha Shiva. Sri Jiva then had darshan of the temple of Vridha Shiva situated on the bank of the Ganga, on the border of Mayapur. That we can't see with our eyes now. Sri Nityananda Prabhu said, O Jiva, this Vridha Shiva is the Kshetrapal, the area protector of Mayapur. This is where Prodamaya Shakti, Yogamaya, eternally resides. And after Srimad Mahaprabhu's disappearance, the Ganga will rise by his desire and cover almost all of Mayapur with her waters. And 100 years after that, she will again manifest Mayapur. At that time, only the land of Mayapur will manifest. No houses will remain. Thus, that place will remain uninhabited for a long time. Again, when Srimad Mahaprabhu strongly desires, people will reside in Mayapur as before. All these ghats will again be manifest on the bank of the Ganga, and many devotees will come together to construct a huge temple for Srimad Mahaprabhu. Now listen to this. Adbhuta Mandir Ek Hoive Prakash. One amazing temple will manifest here, wherein the daily worship of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu will constantly increase. So this is the quote that ISKCON is using to talk about one Adbhuta Mandir, great, great Mandir. Some people say this quote is indicating the actual temple at Yogpit, which is already there. But Srila Prabhupada wanted this temple to manifest, and therefore that's the desire of Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it's happening. Yes. So, one amazing temple will manifest here, wherein the daily worship of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu will constantly increase. Prodamaya, Yogamaya, and Vridha Shiva will return here, and again they will serve the Dham according to Mahaprabhu's wish. Now hearing this, Sri Jiva took hold of Sri Nityananda Prabhu's lotus feet with both his hands, and he said, O Prabhu, you are the cause of the manifestation of Anantadev, Shesha, who is your plenary portion. You expand yourself as the Dham, the holy abode, and as Nam, the holy name. And you are the shelter of the Supreme Lord's many forms and incarnations. Although you perform your activities according to Sriman Mahaprabhu's desire, nevertheless, you are the spiritual master of all living entities, and all potencies, all Shaktis rest upon you. That person who differentiates between you and Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu is called a Pashandi, or heretic, by the wise. O Nityananda Prabhu, you are omniscient and you have descended to perform pastimes. Yet there is a doubt in my heart. When the Ganga covers Mayapur, where will Shiva, Vridha Shiva, and his energy Prodamaya go? O Lord, please explain this to me. Then Sri Nityananda Prabhu answered, O Jiva, listen to my words. On the high land that can be seen on the Ganga's western bank, there is a hillock named Paradanga, and there is a village of Brahmins on it. North of that is the bank of the river Jahnavi. Learned persons call this place Chinna Denga. A town will be founded on this bank, and Shiva and his Shakti will reside there for some time. Who is able to describe the glory of this bank? This bank is the place of Rasa Stali, and it is splendidly situated here on the Jahnavi Ganga's bank. Although to material eyes it appears to be an ordinary sandy place, in reality it is the eternal Dham, made of jewels, where transcendental pastimes are always taking place. Mayapur is Sri Gokul Mahavan, and Paradanga is said to be Shatikara or Chatikara. So you know Chatikara, that's right near to Vrindavan, the present day town of Vrindavan. And the Brijbasis resided there for some time. So in this way, across the Ganga from the Yogpit is this place called Paradanga. And that's actually where Ras Leela is taking place in the unmanifest Braj within Navadvip Dham. So that place that is being spoken about is, you know, in the town of Navadvip. That's the center of all the shopping areas, and there's that huge banyan tree there. And that's the place where Vridha Shiva is currently, and Yogamaya, which is, you know, is this small little temple. That small little temple right next to the temple of Lord Shiva with the big, huge Shiva Linga there. So that's where Lord Shiva is now, and Nityananda Prabhu is saying in the future he will again return to Mayapur. So, and that's why they call it Paramatala. When you get on the rickshaw, you say, take me to Paramatala. But that's their Bengali way of pronouncing Prauda Maya Tala. Paramatala. Yes. So, Mayapur is Sri Gokul Mahavan, and Paradanga is said to be Chatikara. Here is the Ras Mandala of Vrindavan, and in the future, loud Sankirtan will take place here. Between Mayapur and Sri Pulina flows the river Bhagirati. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Radha Govinda Ki Jai. So, between Mayapur and Sri Pulina flows the river Bhagirati. O great learned one, understand that all these places are within Gaur Dham. Any person who performs parikrama of this Dham, which measures 5 kosas, he attains the darshan of Mayapur and Sri Pulina. That person who on the day of Falgun Purnima, which is Gaur Purnima, that person who circumambulates these 5 kosas along with devotees will receive the eternal treasure, Krishna Prem. O Jiva, listen to a confidential topic of mine. Sri Vishnu Priya Devi worships a deity of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. In the future, Brahmins descending from the family of Sri Jagannath Mishra will take this deity to Chatikara. And when after the appearance of Sriman Mahaprabhu 400 years have passed, this deity will be worshipped at the highest standard. Keep all of these topics hidden for now and blissfully perform parikrama. So that deity is named Dameshwar Mahadev, which is not far from Vridha Shiv temple. Yes. Now they come to Mahaprabhu Ghat, and he says, Nityananda Prabhu is saying, "O best of the learned, see there is Gauranga Mahaprabhu's ghat. 6 meters north of Vridha Shiv Ghat. Here, Sri Gaurahari, on the pretense of performing childhood pastimes, played in the Ganga to his heart's content. And seeing the Yamuna's fortune of beholding Sri Krishna's pastimes, Himadri Nandini, Ganga, performed severe austerities to take part in Srimad Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Lord Sri Krishna bestowed his mercy upon her, Ganga Devi, and gave her his darshan. And he said, 'As Sri Gaur Sundar, I will sport in your waters.'" So Ganga Devi wanted to have the same benediction as Yamuna Devi. So she did so many austerities, and then Krishna appeared and says, "Yes, now I'm satisfied, and as Sri Gaur Sundar, I will sport in your waters." The Lord of the three worlds, Sriman Mahaprabhu, performed pastimes here to fulfill Ganga's desire. Fortunate living entities receive much happiness seeing those pastimes. Everyone calls the ghat that is situated 30 meters north as Madhai Ghat. Then 10 meters north of Madhai Ghat is the most beautiful Barakona Ghat. This ghat attracts the minds of all persons in the town, and it is called Nagariya Ghat. Vishvakarma constructed this ghat on the order of Sriman Mahaprabhu. "O Jiva, see here at this ghat, there are 5 Shiva temples, where 5 gleaming Shiva lingas are splendidly situated. The four aforementioned ghats enhance the splendor of Mayapur. By bathing at these ghats, all miseries are removed. The area east of Mayapur is known by everyone as Antardvip. Now, according to Sriman Mahaprabhu's supreme will, no one is residing at this place, and it will remain uninhabited like this for many more days. By the influence of time, people will again reside here, and this place will manifest as the glory of Nadia. Jiva, today you should stay here in Mayapur, and tomorrow I will take you to Simanta Nagara, Simanta Dvip." Hearing this, Sri Jiva said, "O Prabhu, a doubt has arisen in my mind. Please listen. When Ganga Devi again uncovers Mayapur, what signs will enable the devotees to clearly determine the hidden location of Yogpit? Please describe this in detail." And upon hearing the words of Sri Jiva, Sri Nityananda Prabhu responded with words that were just like nectar. "Listen, O Jiva, when Ganga covers Mayapur, one corner of it will remain intact. Although many Yavanas will reside here, this place will still be named Mayapur. 1,000 meters southwest of the part that remains intact, a raised area will be seen that is always covered with grass. That very place is the residence of Jagannath Mishra. Then 10 meters from here is the temple of Vridha Shiv. Devotees will ascertain these places according to this measurement. Here, a trench named Shivadoba will be seen. This trench will indicate that earlier the river Ganga flowed here. In this way, according to Sri Mahaprabhu's desire, the devotees will reveal these lost places. Know this for certain. 400 years after the appearance of Sriman Mahaprabhu, the attempt to recover the lost holy places will begin." Sri Jiva said, "O Prabhu, now please explain to me the real reason for this place being named Antardvip." So 400 years This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur envisioning this pastime, and he is the person who 400 years later is going to use all this information. Then, so Jiva Goswami wants to know, why is Antardweep named by this name? Then Sri Nityananda Prabhu said, at the end of Dwapara Yuga, Brahma performed austerities here, desiring to receive Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu's mercy. During Sri Krishna's pastimes, Brahma tried to delude Govinda by stealing the calves and the cowherd boys. Seeing his own deceit defeated, the four-headed Brahma became very unhappy due to his offenses. And after speaking many words of glorification, Brahma begged forgiveness at Sri Krishna's feet, and the Lord of Sri Vrindavan, Sri Krishna, indeed forgave him. Then Brahma thought in his mind, for me to think that I am the creator of this universe is most contemptible. This faulty understanding alone deprives me of Krishna prema and of relishing the rasas of the pastimes of Braj. So if you were Lord Brahma, the topmost living being, created being in the universe, and you have this abhiman, I am the creator, which he does, that's what he does. Imagine if you understood that, oh, this is causing, it is hindering my ability to attain Krishna prema, that I'm thinking I'm Brahma, the creator of this universe. So imagine us. Like, how insignificant are we in comparison to Brahma? But nevertheless, the same abhiman applies for every conditioned soul. The same false conception of self. He said, this faulty understanding alone deprives me of Krishna prema and of relishing the rasas of the pastimes of Braja. Oh, if I had taken birth as a cowherd boy, I would have easily obtained service to Sri Krishna, the master of the gopis. I did not have the great fortune to relish the rasa of those pastimes, but now I will not have any wicked mentality towards Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Saying this, Lord Brahma began to meditate and perform austerities in this very same Antardweep. Then sometime later, Sri Gaurachandra mercifully appeared before the four-headed Brahma and said, O Brahma, being satisfied with your austerities, I have come to give you that boon for which you are hankering. When Brahma opened his eyes and saw Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he became unconscious and fell to the ground. Then the Lord put his foot on Brahma's head. Receiving transcendental knowledge, Brahma began to offer prayers. He said, I am very low and wretched, and being controlled by pride, I committed offenses at your feet. And as a result, I am absorbed in mundane enjoyment. All scriptures declare that I, Brahma, and Panchanana, Shiva, Indra, and all other demigods are your subjugated servants. It is not our fortune to become your pure servants. Therefore, Maya has covered us with her net of illusion. The first half of my life has passed. That's like a couple of 100 trillion years. So the first half of my life has passed. And now I am most anxious about how the second half will pass. My mind is disturbed by many difficulties because of being indifferent toward you. My only prayer at your feet is that I may join you as your associate in your manifest pastimes. May I attain such a birth that my conceit in being the creator will be removed, that I may remain with you the whole time, and that I may glorify you. Hearing Brahma's prayer, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu said, so be it. And he bestowed the boon upon him. Srimad Mahaprabhu said, "At the time my pastimes manifest, you will take birth in a Yavana's house. You will always think of yourself as low and fallen. Your name will be Haridas, and you will be free from all pride. Daily 300,000 names of Hari will dance upon your tongue, and at the time of leaving this world, you will have darshan of me." By virtue of this practice, at the end of the second half of your present birth, you will attain Sri Navadvip Dham and be absorbed in eternal rasa. O Brahma, listen to these words from my heart. Do not reveal them here and there in different scriptures. Having taken the mood of a devotee, I will relish the rasa of bhakti and manifest the supremely rare process of Sankirtan. I will drown in the rasa of Braj with all the devotees who were present at the time of my other incarnations. My heart is controlled by Sri Radhika's prem. I will take her bhav and bodily luster and appear in this material world. And accepting her bhav, I will taste the happiness that Sri Radha experiences in serving me. From today itself, you will attain the position of being my disciple, and later, as Haridas, you will always serve me. Saying this, Srimad Mahaprabhu disappeared, and Lord Brahma fell to the ground unconscious. Then again, gaining consciousness, he restlessly began to call out, "O Gauranga, O friend of the fallen, O you who are loving toward the devotees, when will I attain your lotus feet?" Brahma wept like this for many days, and then he again returned to Brahmaloka to perform his duties as Brahma, as given by the Supreme Lord. This lowly, fallen, lowly, and insignificant Bhakti Vinod, whose desire is to attain the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Janava Devi, is singing the glories of Nadia. Chapter 6. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Sachiranandan, Jai Nityananda Prabhu Janava Jivan, Jai Jai Sitanath, Jai Gadadhar, Jai Jai Srivasadi Gaur Paribar. The next day, early in the morning, Sri Nityananda Prabhu left the house with Srivas Pandit and Sri Jiva. Walking along with them were Ramdas and other devotees, all singing the names of Sri Gaura. When they reached the border of Antardvip, Sri Nityananda Prabhu pointed out Ganga Nagara to Sri Jiva. Sri Nityananda Prabhu said, "Listen, Jiva, Ganga Nagara was founded by Bhagirat of the Yadu dynasty. And at the time of Bhagirati Ganga's descent to this world, King Bhagirat, blowing his conch shell, went ahead of her to show her the way. But when Ganga reached Sri Navadvip Dham, she stopped, even though King Bhagirat proceeded forward. Bhagirat turned around only to see that Ganga had stopped flowing. So King Bhagirat became overwhelmed with fear, and he returned to Ganga. He began to perform austerities here in Ganga Nagara to find out why the Ganga was not proceeding. Satisfied with his austerities, Ganga Devi personified appeared in front of him. Seeing Ganga, Bhagirata said, "Mother, if you do not proceed onward, my forefathers will never be delivered." Then Ganga said, "Listen, O son, O Bhagirat, who have an unyielding and peaceful mind, just remain here patiently for some time. I have come to this Navadvip Dham in the month of Magh, and at the end of the month of Falgun, I will proceed onward to deliver your forefathers. O Bhagirat, I am in the Dham of that personality from whose lotus feet my waters emanate. In his holy abode, all my desires are fulfilled. The day of my Lord's advent is the full moon day of Falgun, and on that day I will observe a vow. I will definitely come with you the day after completing this vow. Do not fear. And thus King Bhagirat, the head of the Raghu dynasty, stayed here in Ganganagara until Falgun Purnima. The next day, early in the morning, he proceeded to lead Sri Ganga's way. One who stays at Ganganagara on Falgun Purnima and who fasts, bathes in the Ganga, and worships Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu will cross the ocean of material existence along with his ancestors. That person, along with 1,000 of his ancestors, will attain Sri Goloka no matter where he leaves his body. O Jiva, the glories of this place are incomparable, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced here an unlimited number of times. Look, here are the houses of Sri Gangadas and Sri Sanjay. One always feels unequaled happiness just by beholding them. Almost learned one, now please hear the glories of this beautiful large pond, Dirgika, situated in the eastern direction. Nowadays, everyone calls this lake by the name Ballal Dirgika. In Satya Yuga, there were many descriptions of this lake. In other words, it has been famous since then. Once upon a time, a king named Prithu was leveling the rough parts of the earth. And when his workers came to this place, they saw a great effulgence illuminating the four directions. When the workers described this incident to the king, he also came to see that great effulgence. Maharaj Prithu was a Shaktivesh avatar, an empowered incarnation of the Supreme Lord, and therefore he could understand in his meditation that this place is Sri Navadvip Dham. Upon seeing the effulgence of this place, everyone would understand its glories. For the purpose of concealing the glories of this place, he ordered a delightful pond to be constructed here. This pond became known as Prithu Kund throughout the entire Navadvip Dham. How is it possible to describe the bliss the villagers felt upon drinking the pure water of this pond? And later, King Lakshman Sen had this pond enlarged and deepened. Desiring to deliver his forefathers, he named this pond Balal Dirgika, after one of his ancestors, Balal Sen. Look at this beautiful high hill. This was the palace of King Lakshman Sen, but now it is in ruins. Such ornament-like sites were constructed by various kings at the great sacred places, like Sri Navadvip Dham, for the purpose of acquiring pious credits. Later, one Yavana king desecrated this place, therefore devotees no longer show it due respect. The land here is extremely sacred, but devotees do not reside here because they fear the association of the Yavanas. The devotees left this place because it was here that a deity of the Lord was shown disrespect. And saying this, Sri Nityananda Prabhu roared loudly, thus manifesting his anger toward the Yavanas, and he arrived at the village of Simulia. So tomorrow we will hear about Parvati Devi and Simanta Dweep, like that. Gaur Premanandi. Shri Navadvip Dham Mahatmya Ki Jai.
The Yavanas are the Muslims, right?
Yeah, Muslims. Okay. I was on course. I covered the amount of